Voices serves as the megaphone for individuals who have endured transformational change. By highlighting trials and triumphs, our desire is to create a safe space for pivotal conversations, which in turn will deepen the story and provoke hope for you, our listeners. As you may know, change is never easy, but it is inevitable. You are not alone in what you're facing. Your transformation is possible, purposeful, and now. And here's Erin Wiggum, founder and managing director of New You, with this week's guest.
Welcome to another edition of the New Voices podcast, and we are so excited to have you join us today. We have a wonderful guest with us, and New Voices serve as the megaphone for individuals who have endured transformational and pivotal experiences and are here today to tell their stories. My name is Erin Wiggum. I'm going to be your host for today, and I'm also the managing director of New You. New You is a way for individuals to imagine, discover, and actualize a 2.0 version of yourself. And so we're doing great work here in Tulsa and throughout the world abroad. But we bring this guest to you today to share her amazing story. You're going to hear some wonderful nuggets from her. And we're really excited. I met her just a few months ago, just in passing. And we knew each other. We knew we saw each other around before. Being an ecosystem builder, she's an ecosystem builder as well, but had never actually engaged one another. And so we had a wonderful time over a meal with a group of people, and we said, we got to get you on the podcast. And so she's here today. You're about to hear from a powerhouse, you all. She's fierce, she's ready, she's equipped, she's knowledgeable. She is very strategic. And what I kind of like about her is that she does all of these amazing things with the heart of someone who wants to make a difference. And that really is the beauty of the work that as I see from afar. And so we bring to you none other than the venture advisor at I2E. She also is the entrepreneurship-led economic development expert herself, Ms. Srijita Ghosh. I said that correct?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I hit it myself. I love it.
That was spot on.
Woo! All right. I got through that part. Whew. No, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. So we start off every conversation with, can you tell us your story from the beginning, or from wherever you like to start? What is the Srijita Ghosh story?
Yeah. Well, we'll start from the beginning.
Okay.
But I was born to two really fearless and amazing set of parents who dared to dream big, not just for themselves, but even bigger for me and my sister. So they have two daughters, right? So I played tennis since I was 6 years old. Tennis was my life. That was as early as I can remember. All my childhood, tennis, and even a large part of my life was tennis. I wanted to be the next Serena Williams. Ooh. And my mom, being the powerhouse that she is, she always told me that yes, I can. So that's kind of how my journey started, and it all kind of ties together pretty well. But sports is my background. I'm an athlete at heart, and I bring that spirit to everything that I do. So I didn't end up becoming the next Serena Williams. However, I did play the pro circuit for a little bit.
Nice.
Was ranked pretty high in India, and then I came at a point in life where I had to make a decision of with my career, right? Going fully the pro life is very hard financially, mentally. Yeah. Always it's hard, and I did not fully want to give up on kind of like a backup plan or my academics as well. So that's when I learned about this amazing system in the United States. And that reminds me, I should mention this. I'm actually born and brought up in India, in
There
a
you go.
beautiful, beautiful city called Kolkata.
Yes.
Hustling, bustling, really just beautiful city.
Yeah.
The tagline for Kolkata is the city of joy.
Okay.
So that brings me a lot of joy. That's my hometown.
Nice.
But yeah, that's when the first time I learned about this system where you can play college sports. So you can continue studying and you can keep playing competitively. So I started applying to all these universities that I had done my research, and I got replies from quite a few, but one that really caught my eye was it's called East Central University, and it was in a town called Ada, Oklahoma.
Yes.
At that time, I didn't even know how to pronounce Ada. I thought it was Ada for the longest time until I spoke to the coach, on a Skype call. We used Skype back then.
I'm about to say Skype. Wow, she's taking us back.
Zoom. And it just, sometimes you just have that intuition that this feels right.
This feels right. Yep.
ECU is a budget-friendly school. I knew I wanted to study business. I knew I wanted to play tennis, and they were offering a great scholarship. So that's how I came from Kolkata, India, to Ada, Oklahoma.
Wow.
So when I got there in 2015, next year in January, it will be 10 years since I've been in the United States, which is like the longest, but also the shortest time. It's just such a time dimension thing.
Yeah.
But so I came to Ada, and Aaron, before I had been to the United States before when I was like 14 for tennis camp, and that was in Florida.
Okay.
So in my mind, I was like, how different can Oklahoma be from Florida?
Little did you know.
If any of you have been to both of the states, they're very different.
Yes.
But Ada became home pretty quickly, and that's sort of like how. And let me know when you want me to pause and take a different direction.
No, you're good.
But that's how my American journey, my American dream started by the means of sports.
Okay.
And I had my team. We did great. We won championship. I got my ring. I don't have it on me today, but I hold it close to my heart.
Nice.
But unfortunately, about a year and a half-ish in, we had quite a big adversity kind of come our way. My way personally, but really for the full team. Because of budget cuts, ECU had to make the very difficult decision of cutting the entire men's and women's tennis team.
Okay.
So that was rough. Financially, meant like that was my life. That was my identity.
Yeah.
But looking back, I feel like things happen for a reason and can be opportunities in disguise. Being a student athlete, I had no time to do anything else other than study because I was a serious student too. I wasn't lacking on there. And I was playing tennis. But now with a little extra time, what I could do was focus on my second passion, which is entrepreneurship.
There you go. Yeah.
So, I mentioned about my parents, and they're both just role models for me. But they've always been entrepreneurial. I've never actually seen what a 9-to-5 looks like. They've had different projects throughout their lifetime, and they continue to. So I always knew I had that entrepreneurial mindset, and I wanted to do something.
Okay.
So that's when I set out to try to solve a problem that I personally faced, and I also saw some close friends go through, and that was anxiety. Right. It's something that was pretty close to my heart, and I was like, this is something that I don't see a solution that exists. Like when people with severe anxiety or panic disorder have those crisis situations, there's nothing to help. So my solution, which is called Stop Panic, was this mental health tech that would help de-escalate the situation by connecting the individuals to therapeutic music to calm down and on-demand counseling. So this was way before, the calm and the headspace and the balances of the world. And I did all the things that you do when you want to start a business. I talked to customers. I made sure that there was a real problem. I had my advisory board with, from the therapist angle, from the business angle. I participated in many pitch competitions, the bigger one being the Entrepreneurs Club hosted by I2E. So you see the full circle.
Yes, it's all tied together.
Full circle now, but that was my first introduction to I2E as a student entrepreneur.
Nice.
So it was going well. However, my company, my product never launched into market.
Got it.
And as you know, there are many reasons why companies don't launch. But for me, the primary reason was as an international student and as an immigrant, I had no idea how to navigate the legal situation of like, how do you start a business as an immigrant? I knew it was possible. I had heard stories, from Silicon Valley. Now I know the statistic that 45% of Forbes 500 companies are started by immigrants or children of immigrants. So it's a possibility. But in a small town, as a student who's still like super early in their career, I did not have that resource and that information.
Yeah.
And that sort of became my why into the career that I got in and what I still do, which is to help make entrepreneurship accessible for all.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that was the perfect runway for us to have this conversation.
Good.
Okay, that's good. So let's go back though, to your tennis days. Okay. And can you just, share with us what was some of the pressure or the anxiety that you felt having to perform? You're the only one on the court versus somebody else. Even if you're playing on a tennis team, you're the only one on the court, right? And so can you talk about that? How did that play into maybe some of the anxiety that you have dealt with? And how did you handle loss? Or maybe if you won, but you didn't play your best. Can you navigate us through those waters?
Yeah. I always say that sports, tennis has really built me into the person that I am.
Yeah.
I have learned so much and challenging hard times, while, when I was like in middle school or even younger, while my friends were out having fun or doing other things, my routine was always wake up at 4 a.m., practice, school, practice, travel for tournaments. That was my life.
Wow.
And I chose that, and my parents were, supportive and helped me have that dream. So yeah, I do think that some of, the anxiety that kind of build was from in that high pressure situation since the early days. But I can never say that I wish I didn't go through some of that, because it really helped me build that resilience and that power to never give up. So fun story. So I was kind of known in the tennis circuit as, so if you're playing against Srijita, until like you've won the match, like this is for the opponents, until you've won the match, like your racket's in the bag and you're leaving the court.
It's not over.
It's not over.
Yeah, yep.
You don't relax.
Yeah.
Because I was the comeback champion. My mom always was like, can you stop giving me heart attacks on the tennis court? Because like, why you got to start like that? Just go. But that was a strength.
Was it nerves? What was it that like you kind of needed more runway? Or
yeah, and it wasn't that it was all the time, but I guess like those crucial matches, sometimes your rhythm's not hitting, or it's just not your day, like you said. In sports you never know, right? You practice 100 times, and yet when you're under pressure, when you have this whole audience looking at you, or you're representing your city, there's this different kind of pressure. But I did navigate how to control those nerves and just like never giving up. I was like, I'm not going to give up till like we're shaking hands and we're out of the court. Part of that is really thanks to, again, I'm going to talk about my mom a lot.
Fine.
She's but she got me in sports therapy in a very young age.
Good.
And at a time when, in India, we still have so much negative stigma around therapy, but back then in India, like it was even more, and she didn't care. She was like, no, my daughter needs this. And as much as she's doing the weight training or the sprinting, whatever, mental strength.
Yes.
So I would say that really helped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Serena Williams.
Yeah.
I had her posters and I was like, she did it again. I can keep doing this too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna ask you a random question here.
Yeah.
Who's the one girl that was like your nemesis? Like that was she gave you the hardest fight every time.
Man, we, in my city especially, I mean, there was several in the same age group. More than like a person, for me, it was a place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had great, and we were like, sometimes we were playing doubles, we were playing against each other, but that doesn't strike as much as, I haven't thought about this question in a long time, but it was a place.
Okay.
So there's this national city of India, Delhi. There was this big tournament. I think it was called the Delhi National or something.
Okay.
And somehow I would always be like performing like great before that and all of that. And then I would get to that court and something would happen. And it wasn't until the longest time that I was able to like crack that nut and finally just be like, I have nothing to lose because I've played some of my worst tennis on this court.
Can't get any worse than this.
But I kept going back.
Yeah.
My mom, if she was like my traveling coach, right? And she would be with me everywhere and she would sit in the stand and she was like, hey, you have nothing to lose. So yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
It was a place for me, not a person.
Not a person. Wow. I can go a lot of different ways with that. You talked a minute ago about pressure and stress, right? And I'm a big proponent of, pressure gives you energy, stress takes your energy, right? And so like, you challenging yourself and putting so much pressure on yourself till like a stressful situation does not bring about stress on you because you've learned how to withstand the pressure of it, right? And rise to that occasion. And that resilience, as you said, or that tenacity that translate over into the work that you're doing now, even, right? And how you have to help even founders navigate that space now. Like that has to almost become infectious, where you're telling a founder who wants to close the doors, no, get back out there and fight again, right? Go get another sales call or however you're managing that, right? And so I just love to see the beauty of how these dots connect, even though they're 20 years apart, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about where you're in college and you're coming, you're in America now. The difference between India and Ada. Okay. I won't set that up any more than that. How about you? What were some of the things that you faced in that stark difference?
Yeah. I get that question a lot about like, what was the culture shock? And it was in a way, well, like I said, I thought I was coming to Florida when I came to Ada. But the biggest thing for me was the size of the community.
Okay.
So I've always lived in really big cities. Like Kolkata is a huge city. I actually lived in Spain for a year for training before coming to the United States. And that was Valencia, which was a big city too. Beautiful. So Ada was very different. But, in college, I really didn't feel as much of the difference. I traveled a lot since I was a kid for tournaments. So I was very flexible. I'm like water. I'll fit in. I'll make new friends. I don't have a problem with that. But I actually want to talk about a lot of the overlap that was in the culture and still is overlap in like the culture and some of the things that Oklahoma, Ada, but in Oklahoma in general, share with like Indian culture. So family is super important. And that is something that I noticed here very quickly too, that, people are very close knit with their family, with community. They take a lot of pride in their culture and the community. So those were, for me, really easy things to be like, yes, I connect on that level. So one of the challenges though was after graduation, right? Because in college, you're kind of in this like a little bit of a bubble, right, of your college. But after I entered the workforce, majority of my friends and classmates, they actually left, but I continued staying because I really enjoyed my job and the career that I could see happening and the community. So there's a little bit of an invisible barrier. Like I was a foreigner still, Ada is a small community. But I realized that once I did the outreach of like also not being passive and be like, I'll wait for people to come say hi to me.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I am also going to go integrate myself, try to understand. And I ended up saying, I moved to Oklahoma City 3 years ago. So I lived in Ada for 7 years. And Ada's like my second home.
Wow.
I have people there that are like family. And I'm just so grateful for their community. And I'm grateful that I also took it upon me to not get scared of that and be like, oh, I'm going to stay by myself, but actually go out and try to meet people and kind of break some of that initial barriers that seem to exist.
Yeah. Can you kind of speak to, as you're navigating these waters, you're in a new country, right? You're navigating Oklahoma and all of its texture, right? And you're coming into a new workforce, right? A new way of thinking. What were some of the real things that you had to develop as a person, as an individual? Like, where did you see, oh, wait a minute, maybe I was prepared in these ways, but in these ways I needed development as an individual, as you navigate through this Oklahoma scene? Because sometimes when you move away from somewhere, you realize what you brought and you also realize what you didn't have, right? And so that's kind of where the question is going.
Yeah.
Like, what were some of the things that you saw were strengths and as gaps as you navigate these waters?
Yeah. I was a teenager when I moved to Ada, and so I think a lot of my growing up happened
Right
during
there.
college and
Yeah.
after college. I'll speak a little to like one of kind of the pivotal moments or the pivotal experiences in my life. And so you know me by my name, Srijita, right? So there's a bit of a story behind that,
Okay.
behind my name. So when I first came to the US, I started using my nickname, Dia.
Okay.
It didn't happen like as soon as I got here, but it was quickly like I realized some of the awkwardness, some of a little bit of the microaggressions
Yeah.
that I got with having such a unique name. And Srijita is not the most common name around the block either. So I totally understand that. But as, someone who is young and still trying to figure everything out, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this is one less thing I want to have to worry about.
Right.
Right. Dia, actually, it's a pretty common Indian name. It means light.
Okay.
But for me, it came from my sister. She, in Bengali, which is my native tongue, Didi means older sister.
Oh.
And from that, she kind of derived Dia.
Okay.
So when I was in Spain, Dia was easy to say too because Dia means day in Spanish.
Yeah.
So Dia became my go-to name, and it wasn't until about 2-ish years back that I sort of had one of those, like, remember it was like an epiphany moment. It was a growth moment that I realized that why am I going by Dia? Is it because I chose to do that, or was it because of some of the systematic pressure that I was shrinking myself, taking up less space?
Yeah.
And I always advise my entrepreneurs that I work with that you have to stand your ground.
Yeah.
You have to be authentic and true to the vision, and you be bold and you take up space. And I was like, I need to follow my own advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm answering your question,
You are.
but that was a huge moment for me. So then I kind of made the decision, and I had the most amazing support from my team at I2E, who were like, yes, absolutely. I still remember like being so nervous sending that email out, and remind you, like, my team at I2E, they've known me since college too. So like everybody knew me as Dia. That was on my business card. That was on my email signature. And everybody was so supportive.
Wow.
I've had a colleague tell me that she actually wrote my name, the pronunciation, on a sticky note and had it on like her computer.
Yeah.
So she could practice it and saying it.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a huge moment that in my life that I felt more integrated with my values. I felt more of my authentic self, and that has really empowered me to kind of grow.
Yeah.
I have been brave. I wouldn't be coming from India to Ada if I wasn't brave.
Right.
But I was young, and
Yeah.
like that was one of the moments where I was like, okay, this is sort of like a new level, like a new chapter in my life, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I love that. That is amazing. And that's exactly what I was looking for. Because when you think about it, at some point you can't give up your identity for someone else's convenience. Right? And that's kind of like the realization or the actualization that you came into. And I think that it's very difficult as you're becoming who you are, who you want to be, to figure out what does it mean to take space and like to be authentic and validated in who I am, and really not care too much about what you think about who, right?
Yeah.
Even down to the thing, that you came in wearing one attire just a minute ago, right? And you said, I want to wear something that's authentic to my heritage, right? And so she puts on this lovely outfit. What is it? There's a name for
It's
it?
a kurti.
Kurti,
Yeah.
okay.
My mom custom designed it.
Shut up. Go ahead. Watch out, girl. Go ahead, Mom.
Yes.
I love it.
Shout out.
Yeah. Does she sell them online, or is this for you?
This is for me.
Oh, okay.
I tell her she should.
Yeah. But she wanted to wear something that was authentic to her heritage, right? She wants to be fully represented, and I just think that was beautiful. And so, of course, we make the space for you to be authentically who you are.
Can I tag on something to that?
Sure.
So one of my passion and principles with work and what drives me, my why, is going back to that making entrepreneurship accessible for all. And Aaron, you know this with our ecosystem building work, but the word equity means a lot, and you just summarize so much of that. So part of me was also that I need to live to my word, so that's how I can tell others to. And I'm so excited right now to be in Oklahoma because we are doing that from the ground up.
Yes.
A lot of times you see that equity may be something that you're kind of tagging along later, which again, better late than never.
Right.
But one of the things I'm so excited for economic development landscape in Oklahoma right now is we are tying this into the fabric of systems. With entrepreneurship, so that anyone, whether they're an immigrant entrepreneur or they're a rural entrepreneur, having lived in a rural community, I know firsthand the obstacles and the kind of the unique challenges that rural founders have. So just wanted to add that the word equitable entrepreneurship is so important, and it's exactly what you said. It's like giving that space that everybody belongs. And entrepreneurship is not an exclusive sport.
It's not.
It sometimes had seen that way, but anyone who has a good idea should have the right to start and follow that along.
Absolutely. You're familiar with Victor Huang?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my guy. And his organization, Right to Start, and all the policy work that they're doing across the country.
100%.
So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right with that. I also, I think that when you're looking at that authenticity, I heard a stat the other day that the most powerful thing that we emit is not love, it's authenticity. Authenticity moves the room more than anything, right? And so when I have to hide who I am so someone else is comfortable, then all of a sudden, I'm not giving you all that I have. But when I can fully be who I am in authenticity, then you get to experience all of me, right? And that experience then is it's information to be able to build on for years to come, right? And so I'll give you an example. It's kind of like when you go to a country and you visit this country, but you only went to the tourist spots. Well, you didn't really experience the country. Like you saw what people wanted you to see. But if you go when I go to Puerto Rico, I'm off the grid. I'm going in I want to go see where the people at, right? I want to go to the barbershop and and I have a different experience than most people because they just stay on the resort, right? And so that just highlights what the value of being authentically who you are. And not only, you might not have been Serena on a tennis court, but in Ada, you're Serena in the venture space, right? And you are carving out a path that young girls that look like you can say, I want to be fierce like that, and I want to be authentic like that, and I want to be able to champion something. And as I champion that, carve a path for other people to follow. So, wow, that's dope. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about your work. Because I don't want to leave that out. This work that you're doing, this entrepreneurship-led economic development work that you're doing, I understand where it comes from. What gets you up in the morning about it though now? Why is that the pulse in your heart right now?
Yeah.
And explain to our audience a little bit about what it is too.
Yeah. So, when you think about economic development, usually in that field, traditionally there's been kind of the three sections. One is what we call as attraction, that is trying to recruit
New
other
business.
companies to move here. There's BRE, that's business retention and expansion, so helping existing kind of businesses grow. And there's entrepreneurship, that is grassroots development. Now, I think, in the last several years, this kind of change has been happening where people are realizing that, sure, if, Amazon moves their headquarters to a community, that's great. That's going to create a lot of jobs. That's going to be great for the community. But one, we cannot just sit back and wait for that to happen. And then two, in order for some of these bigger companies to move, there are certain things that they look for.
Right.
Quality of life traditionally has been seen as this cute thing that you do. And especially you're in Tulsa, you know this, but that is so important.
It's necessary, yes.
Yeah, people want to live where they can have a full life, a holistic life. So I think people, economic developers all around the world, all around the nation are realizing that, yes, we don't forget attraction, but that grassroots development, that support, like what if the incentives and the money that we are spending on trying to recruit these companies, we spend even half of that in supporting local grown entrepreneurs, because when they do start the companies, they're more sticky, they're less likely to move, they are more community oriented because the community that built them up, they want to give back.
Absolutely.
And then third, it just changes the landscape of a community when you have success stories like that. So that is kind of the field of the work. And, I am so blessed that I started out in this career with like progressive leadership that believed in, though we were in a small town like in Ada, a rural community, we believed that entrepreneurship was the way to take our community to the next level, to showcase our stories. Ada is actually a really entrepreneurial town. The Chickasaw Nation is headquartered there, and if you know a little bit about the history of how they came about from the small, community that they were to now being one of they're thriving nationally as a Native American population and group, and we have other success stories in Ada. So anywho, my role was a new one, entrepreneurship specialist. So I got to like really do a lot of new things, try things out. So part of my job was working directly with these founders, but part of it was community building and culture building. And I don't know if building is the right word, because no one says
Actually
like, hey,
builds,
I'm gonna put a brick over brick and do it. But it's about kind of like that mindset, because entrepreneurship, founder, we see these were all like kind of sexy terms you use in Silicon Valley. Like that belief wasn't there that we can do it from here, but you can. You can, and the world is getting more connected, and so that was a really great learning experience for me in this new role, being able to bring community together, and when I think about my why, that really is like the founders are at the heart of it.
Okay.
Right? We work very closely with great partners. With I2E, we have partners all over the state because we serve the entire state.
Right.
I'm based in Oklahoma City, but we work with rural communities, with urban communities, and we have tremendous partners from chambers and cities and everything. But also just remembering that the founders are at the core of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes it's like, I'm thinking about entrepreneurship-led economic development and technology and this and that. But at the end of the day, when I'm sitting down with the founder, having our 1 hour mentor, and it's like, this is why I do what I do. This is the heart of it.
It feeds you.
Yes.
It feeds you. I love it. I love it. Let me ask you this, and I ask every guest this question. Can you walk us through a time where you had to hold on to hope? All right. And you didn't quite know if it was going to work out, when it's going to work out. But what was that hope, and how did you make it through it?
Yeah. So I'll touch on something we talked about a little bit. Okay. But so remember that time when I was in college and, I literally give up my home and everything and travel across the world, basing everything on tennis and the scholarship. So when we get the news that starting next semester, no more program, no more tennis, no more scholarship, that was like, Aaron, that hit me so hard. I was like, I was already making conclusions that like, I'm going back home. This is it. So I called I think I called my mom. It was like 4 a.m. in India because of the time difference. And I probably not even making sense because I'm just in this kind of frustrated situation, emotional situation, and she is extremely calm for someone who just woke up at 4, got woken up at 4 a.m. Like, you never want to get those calls.
Right.
But she was like, hey, we got you. What do you want to do?
Wow.
Like, that is exactly what she told me. And, I always, that's every time I'm in some kind of situation that is like hard and I don't know what's going to happen next, I tell myself, I got you. What do you want to do? So that was so powerful for me because, yes, I did not, immediately say that I want to start a company.
Yeah.
But eventually I was like, okay, let me reach out to my professors. Let me reach out to my mentors. Let's figure out some academic scholarships because I don't come from a family that we just, could start writing checks. And everybody came through.
Wow.
I'm so grateful for, I use the word community so much because it really means so much to me.
Wow.
So my parents are still in India. My family's in India. My sister lives here now, but the community is what supports me. That's why I want to support back. But so I would say if anybody ever is going through anything, that's hard. Just like pause for a second, take a deep breath, tell yourself that you got this, and then ask yourself, what do you want to do?
Now let me take this one. Let's go one layer deeper. All right. What did those words really mean to you? What did they do for you? When your mom said, when you're exasperated, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
And you hear this voice that's familiar, that has given you life, literally give you life at 4 a.m., unaware of what's happening. What did that do for you?
Just a mindset shift. It's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Right? I go from thinking about all the things that are bad right now to thinking about, this is how we can navigate it. And it's possible.
Yes.
It's like the glass half full, half empty situation. And did we figure everything out? No, she said, just get some sleep. I know it's not nighttime. Just take a nap. Let me sleep, and let's talk this out. So it's and that's something that I've noticed a lot of times. You mentioned earlier with my founders. Man, entrepreneurship is hard.
It's hard.
You know how many no's you get? Like they're getting no's day and night. But it is about that pausing, holding on to that North Star, and then having that a shift in thinking, okay, this path did not work out, but that doesn't mean I'm still not arriving to that destination. Let's figure out how else do we go at it.
And you know what's so beautiful? These full circle moments that we have in life, to where now you're that voice for other people, right? That voice that you heard from your mom when the founder's calling you and saying, I can't believe blah, 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 blah. I lost this deal with, and you're like, I got you. What do you want to do? Right? For that to come back and you now to have that power to empower is just, it's poetry in motion, right? And so, wow, that's, I think.
Thank you for saying that. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I think
it's powerful. I mean, when you're, as an ecosystem builder, I'm dealing with founders all the time, right? And even though I don't do that on a day to day, it's just intrinsically a part of what I'm giving in this community, right? And I know what it feels like as an entrepreneur. I know what it feels like. You got to make payroll. You make sure benefits are paid. Make sure the buck stops at you. You know, and that pressure versus the stress of it. If it's too much pressure, right? It can make you feel like the sky is falling. But to have a grounding voice say, "I got you," right? One of my team members, Lydia, she says that to me often, where she'll say, I got your back. The young people, they put a spin on everything, but she'll text me and she said, I already handled this. I did that, I did the third. And she'll say, I got your back. And what that means to me as a founder, that my vision is cared for, right? Even when I'm stressed about or I'm perplexed, that somebody else has taken on that burden to say, you'll never fall here because I got your back. That's powerful, right? And we all need those support systems that can really be a backbone, a vertebrae for us to sit up straight, be strong, be tested, right? And realize that the test does not bring about failure in itself, right? And even if I fail the test, it doesn't mean that I'm a failure, right? I want to know, when you start to think about the work that you're doing and the person that you are, right? What do you see next? What are you hopeful for? And I don't want to put a time frame on it. What are you hopeful for Srijita and for the work that you're doing, the impact you want to make?
Yeah. For me, you talked about the importance of the word authenticity, and I feel like I have rediscovered that in the last 2 years. Yeah. I'm almost on this like high of this new journey, and what I hope is two things. One, I hold on to that. So I've been pretty intentional about storytelling always, but really over the last year, and I'm always intentional about not just sharing wins, but sharing the struggles. I had a founder, he mentioned to me, because I was telling him I was nervous about this presentation that I'm going to do, and he's like, you're nervous? And you seem perfect. And I was like, oh no, I'm doing something wrong then with my social media or my posting, because that is not what I want it to be. Yeah. So I actually posted a pretty vulnerable video shortly after, because I cry on the way to meetings sometimes and imposter syndrome is real. Yeah. And I know that there's other people who feel like that. And I try to be really authentic and vulnerable with that, because we shouldn't try to pretend to be perfect, and I don't want to be perfect. So first one is like just holding my ground on being authentic, and anybody who maybe comes across my page or hears my story should feel like if she could do it, I can do it too. You can do it, right? That is how I want people to feel. Yeah. The second part is, and I hope that is also kind of trickling across the work with. I think Oklahoma right now is in such a prime position that we are positioning ourselves really as leaders around the nation in the way we are doing economic development, how we are approaching it. And the more we keep that in the forefront of creating that equitable systems, like staying true to that core, for me, it's going back to thinking that how, when I wanted to start a company, I did not have certain resources or have certain information. Yeah. So, and I think everybody who does this work, because this is not easy work, everybody has their own why and their story. Yeah. So let's stay close to that. Let's stay close to the founders and doing it accordingly, whether it's policy change, whether it's programming. So that is really my hope, is I think I am a proud Okie at this point. Okay. And I really am so hopeful for my state and what we can do for entrepreneurs.
I love that. Last question, a call to action for our listeners. So what's maybe a couple takeaways you will want, or a call to action that you will want to share with our listeners? And then if you can share your social handles if you want them to be connected with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that, I really wish something I'd done more was enjoying the smaller milestones along the way. Okay. Because yes, you have this big picture, but sometimes, goals change. So what success looks like changes. So one thing that if I could wish for myself, when I was younger, was, I was always on the go. I had these targets, but enjoying the moment. Yes. And that is something that I hope that I can continue doing, is enjoying that process. And even with my founders, right? When people ask me what does success look like, every time one of my founders has a milestone, they hit a milestone, that's a success for me. And I try to remind them that yes, you may be trying to get this $1 million raise or getting this big contract, but also celebrate that you launched your website, that you got the first prototype. Yeah. So enjoy every milestone along the way, because the fun is in the process.
Listen, you need the pixels to get the picture.
Yes. So one of the things that, I try to live by is always thinking of you can do it from here. For me, it was actually Governor George Nye. Okay. He is an ECU alum, and we had this program where, I was honored with like his name for an award, and that's something he always says is you can do it from here. And he, in his mind, he was like Ada or Oklahoma. But I want to say that to anyone, like no matter where you are, you don't have to be somewhere else to try to get to be where you want to be, right? So whether you're in a small town like Ada, or you are in Kolkata, or you're a founder who's trying to figure out that next step in your business, you can do it from wherever you are. So I hold that close to my heart, and I hope that's helpful to anyone listening. And I'm active on LinkedIn and Instagram. Srijita Ghosh. It's pretty easy to find. The Instagram handle is I am Srijita Ghosh. So
Nice. And I just want to double down on that real quick. I love that you can do it from here. And what I'm hearing from that is that you can't even spell there without here. Right? And so here is where you get what you need to go there. Here is where you get what you need to go wherever you want to go. You can't spell there without here. And so being able to know here, wherever your here is, you can get there. And then the beautiful thing about it is there is always bigger than here. Right? And so, but you can't get there without being here. I love that. That
was poetry right there.
Well, I try. This has been a wonderful conversation, though. I want to thank you so much for this time that you've given us and these nuggets that you've shared with us. And kudos to your mom for being a mother and like just like doing all the dope stuff that mom's doing, including keeping you spicy and everything with the gear and everything. So I love that. But thanks so much for your time, and kudos to you. We'll definitely keep this conversation rolling.
Thank you for listening to this episode of New Voices. Visit our website at www.newuunlimited.com. That is NEWU Unlimited.com. Follow us on social media at New You Unlimited on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And a special thank you to our producer, Jesse Ulrich. If you're looking for self-improvement, join our programs for personal and professional development. New You is a way for diverse talent to imagine, discover, and actualize a 2.0 version of yourself. Bring your future into focus.